episode 110 of Board Game Blitz, a proud member of the Dice Tower Network and a podcast about all things board games that you can listen to in less time than it takes to sort through a bunch of really awesome questions. Board Game Blitz is sponsored by Grey Fox Games. This week, we're answering your questions. First, Ambie tells us about Break In Alcatraz. Then, we answer a bunch of questions that were submitted by our listeners. And now, here are your hosts,
Ambie
and Crystal. Before we hop into the main episode, one quick announcement, and that is that this weekend is Gen Cant. And I know, some people might be really excited about Gen Con online, but I'm excited about Gen Cant because I have participated in Gen Cant a lot over the past few years. It is an online unconvention that is run by Suzanne Sheldon, our dear friend and wonderful human, and I am hosting a couple of events during Gen Cant. So on Saturday, August 1st, at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, I am doing Gen Cant karaoke, which y'all know we love to do here at Blitz. That is going to be on the Blitz Twitch channel, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, August 1st, and you can participate and sing along if you want. Then on Sunday, August 2nd, at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, I am doing Gen Cant Jackbox games. So interactive online Jackbox with as many people as want to participate. Noon Pacific on Sunday, August 2nd. So I hope you all can join me for both of those events. I am really excited about them. And there are a lot of other really cool events going on during Gen Cant. If you go to gencant.com, that's GENCANT.com, you can see the list of all of the events. And make sure you give a shout out to Suzanne for putting that whole thing together, because she puts a lot of work into this event and she's been doing it for years. And it's one of the best things.
Yeah, Gen Cant is awesome. Also, the day this episode releases, we're drawing the winner for the Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion contest that we announced last episode. So we don't currently know who it is, but if you win, we'll email you to let you know, and then we'll be sending that out soon. So congratulations to whoever wins. Yay! Recently, I got a review copy of Break In Alcatraz, which is a new line of escape room type puzzle games. This is published by Play Monster, and like the whole name says, is to escape you must first break in Alcatraz. And there's a couple of other ones too coming soon.
I mean, that's a clever concept, like breaking in instead of breaking out.
Yeah, the way it works is the box is a hexagon shape, and the box is actually part of the game. So it's an escape room type game that's a mix between adventure games, Unlock, and Mystery House, which are all games that I've talked about in previous episodes. There's no time limit, and you can't lose, so it's not really like in the board game category. It's not on Board Game Geek. It's more like a puzzle, I guess. But the box itself, once you open the box, there's a bunch of cards in it, kind of like Unlock, and the cards have different icons on it instead of the Unlock numbers. And then the box, inside the box is a box that has art on it that are the different places. So like the box, it's like the ocean and the prison of Alcatraz. And then as you proceed in the game, you open up that box to reveal like another layer inside it with more art of like the place that you're in now. You're in the prison now, and then you can open up again. So I think there's like 3 different openings of the box to open and unfold into new areas, and you're using those as part of the puzzle.
You're literally breaking really cool. in. Literally.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was really cool, and the theme was cool. The story is that you're breaking into Alcatraz to break out the prisoners. So, like, you're the outside man helping them get out. There's a bunch of different types of puzzles. There's logic puzzles, some spatial ones, and some physical ones. So I thought that was really cool. And I really like the story, but some of the puzzles I thought were not very clear. And like one of the puzzles, actually, there are hints for it, and the hint was wrong. Like, oh no, it had the wrong answer for it. So it seemed like some of the puzzles weren't play tested fully, and so those puzzles were kind of annoying. But then for the puzzles that worked, it was really cool, and the box opening up was really cool. So more ways of how the puzzles actually work is there's icon answers to some of the puzzles, and the cards have icons on them. And then another way you do puzzles is you need to find 3 things, and there's these solution sticks that you stick into the box itself and line it up to find the icon answer. And the rules were kind of confusing on how that worked. So when it first started, I wasn't sure what to do or like what I needed to do to solve the puzzle. So I actually had to read a couple of hints before I kind of understood the mechanisms of the puzzle, or like the break-in system. So those instructions were a little hard to understand. But after I understood that, then it was cooler. I've mentioned before with unlock games how sometimes you're looking for like hidden numbers, and that gets kind of annoying. And for like puzzles, if it has an abstracted version of a number, it's hard to find, because in an unlock you're trying to find a number, and then once you see that number you get that card. And if it's like a weird abstract version of the number, you're not sure if it's that number sometimes. So there were some things that were similar like this. It's icons that give you the cards. So instead of numbers, it's like a picture. And then so sometimes you can't tell if it's a picture because you don't know what all the pictures are. And then it's like a weirder version of the picture. So for some of the puzzles, it was hard to see that you got it right. Like I knew I had it right, but then it took me a while to find the icon because it was like abstracted. So overall, Break In Alcatraz I think it was a really neat concept with the box folding out and using that as the puzzle. The theme was really cool, and it was really neat having a lot of different types of puzzles, not just like one type of puzzle all the time. But because the puzzles seemed like some of them weren't fully play tested, the overall experience wasn't as good as I had hoped. So I'm not sure if I would recommend actually buying this. Depends on like your like what you're looking for exactly. But if you're willing to just spend the money to buy it and get like a couple of cool puzzles and then some disappointments, then that's what it is. I mean,
that's what a lot of the escape room games
yeah,
are,
that's
though.
true.
Like, I think there are very few games in the escape room genre that I've come away with without having any moments of, like, sadness or frustration. Especially because I think your brain is in a different place sometimes, and some puzzles are just harder than others. And now, things that are not play-tested properly, that's obviously a slightly different thing. But, like... So here's a question. Is this one time only, or is this one replayable?
It is replayable like how Unlock is replayable. So
okay.
As long as you don't rip open the box, like the box inside is made of cardboard, like glossy cardboard, and then plastic pegs that, like, the cardboard has holes punched in it and attached to the plastic pegs. So if you're very rough with it when you rip it apart, when you open it, you might rip it, I guess. Okay. But I was able to pack it back up.
Cool. I might have you send this to me. I'm actually kind of curious about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I actually played it one player. It plays 1 to 6 players or something. But it's any number of players, really. It's a cooperative escape room type game. And it's a lot of reading because of the story. The cards, you're opening cards or flipping cards and reading them. So we actually tried playing with Toby. 2 players, we started out, and then Toby decided to stop playing because it was too much reading, and he's like, I'm just gonna do something else. So then I just played 1 player. But then, like, in the second half of the game, it was more of the puzzles, multiple puzzles breaking out at the same time. So that works more for multiple players, but at the beginning it starts out a little slow for multiple players, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, that's Break In Alcatraz. And they're coming out with more in the series, which I think is really cool, because it's a really cool concept. I think with the unfolding box was really neat. Like when the first time I did that, I was like, whoa, this is cool. So yeah, it might be worth it just for that.
Nice. All right, Ambie, we have not done a Q&A episode in a long time. Like, it's been a hot minute.
I think we did one right before my maternity leave, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. So that was that's coming up on a year ago now in a couple of months. Which, oh my gosh, that's kind of crazy. So we asked you all, our listeners, to submit some questions for us, and we're going to answer them. And I have to say, we got some really good questions this time around. So we're not going to answer every single question, but we are going to answer a good number of them. I want to start with this one, Ambie. Jen B over on our Board Game Geek thread asked, "Why are you both so awesome?" And this one just made me giggle. Obviously, I think Jen was being a little bit cheeky there, but thanks for the compliment, Jen. I like it.
I'm not sure I can answer that.
I know. I don't know the answer to that either.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But we appreciate the fact that you would ask such a thing.
Yeah. Inroads on Twitter said, I know you folks, especially Ambie and Crystal, have answered the 18xx games make some people feel intimidated. What's a good start? But is there a game out there that you think gives that vibe that isn't 18xx for folks scared of the label? Short answer, no. But yeah, I think like it's hard to get that same feeling in a different type of game because there's so much to 18xx, I think. It's kind of like trying to get Battlestar Galactica in a different game, like or in a shorter game or something, right? It's
Dark Moon isn't as good. Dark Moon is not as good.
Right. So, yeah, for me, it's like that's 18xx versus other games that are shorter. It's not the same. So, for me, no. There are other games that people like people who like 18xx also like Cube Rail games, which is a shorter train game that has usually has some route building and some shares, but it's not all of the stuff. That's like the only similarities with it. So yeah, sorry, yeah, not yet. And also 18xx games aren't that scary, so so you could just play one of those if you you shouldn't be scared of the label 18xx. 18xx encompasses a lot of different types of games. Or not a lot of different types, a lot of different games. So there are ones that are only 3 hours, which sounds long, but that's the same length as
a lot of heavy
long
Euro
game or something, right? So I
think it's one of those things where, for whatever reason, people worry about messing up an 18xx game more than a Euro for some reason. But
maybe.
I've messed up the rules to most of the games I've ever learned or played or taught. And guess what? If you mess it up, that's okay. You can get it right the next time if you want.
Yeah.
All right. In our Slack channel, where all of our awesome Patreon supporters hang out, Jen asked a few questions. She asked, have you ever given thought to designing a board game? And I want you to answer this one first, Ambie.
Me?
Yeah.
Kind of. I'm actually kind of working on one right now.
Ooh.
My first 18xx.
Oh, you are not. That is the best thing I've ever heard.
So I actually thought of this 3 or 4 years ago because our friend had a 4-year-old daughter. Back then, there were a bunch of my first games coming out, right? My first Stone Age, my first other games, I forget. But so we were like, oh, we should make it my first 18xx because we were getting into 18xx with that friend. And we're like, then we can make one and your daughter can play it too. But we never got around to actually doing it. I made a map and I made some rules, and so I got a lot of it, but
that's pretty cool.
But we only play tested it a couple times with me and Toby, and then I want to try to get back into it now with 18xx.games. It'll be easier to play test it because I can just put it on there. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that.
I think a lot of people who get into board games pretty heavily eventually kind of start thinking about what it would be like to design a game. I actually have designed a game. I submitted a game that I designed to the Gen Can't design contest. I think it was 2017. It might have been 2018. I don't know. There was a roll and write design contest, and I actually got an honorable mention in that contest, it was the first game I'd ever designed, and it is called Cruciverbalist. And it's a roll and write game where you're designing a crossword puzzle. I think it's pretty fun, and there was at least one person on Board Game Geek who really loved it and taught it to, I think, his dad and his grandpa, and then redesigned the rules sheet for me and was telling me how much that his family loved my game, and I was kind of blown away by it. But it's on Board Game Geek, so if you go look it up, it's there, and maybe Ambie can put a link to it in the show notes if anyone wants to download it, because it's just a free print and play. So
and it was 2017 according to Board Game Geek.
Okay, good. I had the year right then. All right, one of Jen's other questions was, what is your favorite underrated game? I think for me, this is definitely Castell. Especially the more time that passes and the less people talk about Castell, the more upset I get, because I just want everyone to play Castell. So everyone go play Castell, and then it won't be underrated anymore.
I need to play that.
Oh gosh, I love it so much.
It's hard for me. I think Tragedy Looper is usually my go-to answer for that.
Yeah.
Since there are a few people who talk about it.
Right.
But it's also a very, like, it's a game that's only for a specific set of people, too. It's a very specific game, so I don't know if that counts.
Okay.
Over on Instagram, Jess Barnes14 asked, what is your favorite game on Board Game Arena?
This is a tough one because, like, King Domino is on Board Game Arena, but it's not what I typically go to if I'm going to play on Board Game Arena. Lately, on Board Game Arena, my favorites have been Coloretto and For Sale. I just learned For Sale, like a month or two ago? And I really like it. Those two are super quick, and they're easy, and the interface is good for those games, so I really like those. I also like Six Nymphed on Board Game Arena, because you don't have those weird long piles of cards that you have to deal with, like, in person.
Oh, yeah.
So that one works well on there as well.
Yeah, I don't play much on Board Game Arena, but I Can't Stop on there.
Oh yeah, oh gosh,
that's probably the one I've played the most.
You don't have to do any of the math; it does it all for you. It's great. Back in our Slack channel, Dave asks, "Have you learned any new skills or picked up a new hobby during the pandemic?" I mean, admittedly, I think you've picked up new skills involving parenting, probably.
Yes. Yeah, my new skills are not related to the pandemic. So, yeah, I'm getting good at parenting, I guess. Maybe. I don't know.
I'd say you're great at it. I honestly haven't really picked anything else up. I've found that my mental energy has been pretty low when I'm not working. So it's really difficult for me to do new things. And that sometimes even involves, like, familiar things where I have to retain information. So, like, I used to read a lot, and I can't read at all during the pandemic. Like, I just don't have the focus for it. But, like, playing a video game kind of mindlessly or watching TV, like, that's a little bit easier for my brain to handle. I am rewatching Hannibal right now because it's on Netflix now, and I'm so excited that a bunch of new people are watching one of my favorite shows. So that's my new skill is rewatching one of my favorite TV shows. Perfect. Okay.
Back on Twitter, Gareth Reynolds asked, what have you played online recently that felt the same as offline? What felt the most different due to format?
I recently got to try a roll and write game on Tabletop Simulator, and that felt the most different because as a roll and write game, like, the physical act of writing on the sheet, and having to type those numbers into a digital sheet, that felt the most different.
Yeah, I did that too. I tried to do a solo roll and write game on Tabletop Simulator. I was like, it's a lot easier to just print the page and write on it than do
I know, right?
Yeah.
As far as stuff that felt the same as offline, honestly, when you and I were playing Bites on Tabletop Simulator, that didn't feel much different for me, I think, than it would have felt online. Or when I played The Crew, that one doesn't feel very much different either.
Yeah, those are my answers too. The Tabletop Simulator, Bites, and The Crew.
Yeah.
Which is probably, like, the only games I've played online recently, so. Yeah.
That's okay. Okay, on our Board Game Geek thread, Lance gave us a bunch of questions. So we'll just pick out a few of them here. This is an interesting one. On average, how many times would you say you've played all the games in your collection? Lance says that he's probably played each of his games about 3 times, and he owns about 70 games. For me, this would be really difficult for me to figure out. I just started tracking gameplays a couple years ago, and I have a handful of games that I've played a bunch of times. Like Strike, for instance, I've played a ton, but I also have a lot of games that I've technically never played because, review copies or games that I've purchased before the pandemic or whatever else. So I have a decent number of games that I've never played. So averaging it out, I honestly have no idea. I think if you eliminated the few that are the most played and the ones that are 0 plays, I would say I've played most of the games in my collection probably around that same number, like 2 to 4 times each. I am not a person that plays a single game a ton, generally.
Yeah, so I actually, I've logged my plays since 2013, and so I exported my collection data and then to look at it. And I excluded expansions and some old games. Like, I have Monopoly and Boggle, which I play, like, when I was a kid, but I haven't logged those plays, so I just excluded them, like pretend I don't own them. And so I have 169 games that I counted, and the mean was 11.
Wow.
The median is 4, and the mode is 1. So
okay.
Some games I play a lot, and some not as much. There are a bunch of let's see, how many zeros am I at?
That's a number that I don't want to know for my own collection.
I don't have too many zeros. I have 19.
No, that's not too
zeros.
bad.
Yeah.
And I think my collection, I don't think my collection is twice as large as yours, but it's close to that. Like, I think I'm in the neighborhood of 300 games, but I don't actually know, and I haven't been keeping my collection up to date on Board Game Geek, so the day that I actually update all that information might be a little bit of a rude awakening for me. Okay, this is an easy one. It's a quick one. Do you like to teach games, or be taught games, or both?
Neither.
Honestly, I'm kind of a neither too. Yeah, like, people say I'm good at teaching games, but I never feel good at teaching games. And I don't really enjoy being taught games either. Like, my perfect world would be sitting down and just starting to play. But not, like, with people not knowing the rules. Like, everybody just knows the rules and we just sit down and play games.
Yeah. I'm fine being taught. So I guess I prefer being taught games to teaching them.
Yeah, I'm the same way in that regard.
But usually I kind of want to learn from the rule book if I have the time.
See, and I hate rule books.
I still don't like learning from the rule book, but, like, that's my preferred method to actually learn it. But I don't mind getting taught the game, too.
I don't like rule books. In fact, this is what's an interesting fact that people might not want to know about me if they've ever learned a game from me, is sometimes I will be taught a game by somebody else, and then I, at a later date, will teach that game to new people, having never actually read the rule book. Like,
this is probably what happened with Monopoly.
I mean, probably. And truthfully, this is why I get rules to games wrong a lot, because I don't read the rule book all the time. Hey, all this means is that I have a lot of trust in my friends. I am a very trusting person, and I'm not going to apologize for that. Let's see. Let's do one more from Lance. Ooh, what's your favorite book and or movie? Oh, and we also got this question on Facebook from Joshua Pierce Lee about the favorite movie thing. And I think this is an interesting question. Do you have a favorite movie and or book, Ambie?
For movie, it's probably Lord of the Rings, Two Towers.
Okay.
Yeah. I like Lord of the Rings a lot. For book, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'd have to think about that.
My favorite movie is Lost in Translation, although Arrival is a really close second for me. I mean, come on, it's about language. Like, when Arrival came out, I was like, it's space and language, and it was perfect for me.
That's a good one. Yeah.
My favorite book is The Orchid Thief by Susan Orlean, and a lot of people haven't read that book, but more people have seen the movie that was based on that book, which is Adaptation with Nicolas Cage, and I really, really like that movie as well. But the book, The Orchid Thief, is very much worth reading, and it's really, really cool, especially if you like flowers, which is a very weird phrase to say, but it's great. And it's part of the reason that orchids are my favorite flower also.
Cool. Yeah, I don't have an interesting favorite book story or anything. I just like a lot of fantasy books. Over on our Slack, David asked a few questions. Have you had a greater urge to cull more games during the pandemic? For me, no. I haven't been thinking as much about games recently. And yeah, we every year we do a cull anyways, so I haven't like changed my urge to cull, I don't think. What about you?
I'm still kind of in the middle of reorganizing my games from last August, which is now almost a year ago. So no is the answer. I have a giant pile of games that my friend Kathy, shout out when I always say my friend Kathy. Yes, I love Kathy. She came over pre-pandemic and helped me go through everything and figure out which ones were going on the sell/trade pile. And it's pretty large, but I don't know what to do with it right now. Like, it's during the pandemic, it's kind of confusing. And then I'm going to be moving soon. So all my games have been just sitting in my loft for like months and months and months. And they're just going to sit there until they go into boxes when I move. So.
Yeah, I haven't even we haven't been in our game room much. so I haven't looked at my collection that much. I go in there to film and I actually have a puzzle a jigsaw puzzle on the game table. So
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, he also asked, what is the first game you and Toby would want to teach to the twins? I assume this is for me.
I would assume that as well.
Yeah.
He did originally in his question tag you in it, but I deleted that part of it because
yes. Okay, so yeah, we have Go Away Monster, which is a game for toddlers. I think like 1.5 to 2-year-olds can start it maybe. I think our friend's daughter played it when she was a little under 2. So that's probably our first game that we're gonna be teaching them.
On our Facebook page, Greg Turner said, I miss board game brunch. What happened to it? That's actually a really good question, Greg. I have not been doing my board game brunch stream on the Dice Tower. Basically, when the pandemic started, Tom started doing this daily chat on the Dice Tower. And so every single day at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, one of the people from the Dice Tower does a live stream, generally a Q&A style live stream. And sometimes they have a guest and sometimes they don't. And Tom just wanted me to suspend board game brunch while that stuff was happening. I did host one of the nightly Q&As. I think only one so far. And I'm obviously willing to do more if Tom wants me to. I miss board game brunch also. So in theory, if other people liked my monthly Q&A over on the Dice Tower and you want to see that come back, definitely let Tom know. He listens to feedback and, obviously I love doing streaming, but if he hears it from other people, then hopefully he will have me bring that one back soon. So that's why it hasn't been happening.
On Instagram, Board Games and Tea with Anna asked, what's the oldest game in your collection that you still love and still play?
I think for me, this one is the McDonald's game. The McDonald's game came out in the 70s, and I don't think I have any other games that are older than that. And I do love the McDonald's game, and I teach it to people at conventions. And it's funny because I love the reactions I get. People are kind of like, what? It's like a roll and move game, and it's McDonald's, but then they always have fun with it.
Yeah, it's a fun speed game. I like speed game. For me, I'm looking at my collection by year. And, so there's 1830, which was in 1986, which I do play. Sleuth was 1971. That's a deduction game. It's like Clue without a board, kind of. So I like that one. And then there's Pounce, which was 1955, which is a...
That game is that old?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It's like each person has a mouse and then there's a cat that's rolling dice and trying to catch them with the cat is an upside down bowl and it's a speed game.
Yeah, it's a plastic bowl.
Really,
so
really
Ambie taught this game to me at BlitzCon a few years ago, and you're holding this mouse by like a rope basically, and then if the cat catches your mouse when you go to yank it off the table, you basically get rope burn. It is kind of horrific, but also fun.
It's like a party game. Only certain times it comes out.
Next time I play that game, I'm wearing like gardening gloves. I'm not doing that barehanded again because I get too like enthusiastic and I hurt my hand.
Yeah. I think there's been a lot of different versions. Like it's called Carly Cat now.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not sure. Like the version in 1955 is probably different. I don't know.
I mean, probably.
Yeah.
Rachel in our Slack channel asks, what do you do to find your zen, your moment of peace, to recenter yourself when things get overwhelming? This feels like a very timely question considering we are in the midst of a global pandemic right now.
Yeah. I need to think about this.
I mean, so this is an interesting question, I think, for you specifically, Ambie. I know what my answer is, but like, I would imagine that as a parent to 2 under 1-year-olds, that it can be really difficult to find zen and peace sometimes. Like, obviously, they nap and, whatever, and they're little enough that they sleep a lot, but you're always kind of focused on them to some degree, I would imagine. Yeah. So I think it would be hard to kind of chill out. At least, I'm probably projecting, because this is how I would feel. I would be stressed constantly.
Yeah, I am pretty much stressed constantly, I think, like, because I'm always thinking about them. So I don't really find my zen much, I guess. But I don't have that need as much as other people, I think, because I like having a lot of stuff to do. So for me, finding like peace is having a lot of work to do, I think. But yeah, sometimes I take a break. I listen to like relaxing YouTube videos or watch relaxing YouTube videos and crochet or something.
Honestly, for me, the number one thing that works for me is to take a nice bath, like a bubble bath with some Epsom salts, some candles, and just lay there and chill. Like, I love a good bath. And my bathtub currently is not big enough. It's fine, but like, I want a really, really big bathtub. That is a note for me when I am house hunting in the near future, is large bathtub.
Oh, I guess also I do jigsaw puzzles. Yes.
Oh, nice.
I just haven't been doing that recently much. Also on Slack, Mike Rudman asked, what is your favorite game that you are really bad at?
I know I have an answer for this.
I usually look at my stats for this one too.
I know, like, I like in my brain, I know that there's something that I always lose it and I love it anyway, but I can't like think of what it is.
Like sometimes there are games that I think I always lose, but then when I look at my stats, I don't actually always lose them, so...
Right.
I guess I've always lost 1849, and it's my favorite 18xx game, so... Yeah, I think in general, 18xx, like, I'm not that good at the ones that I like. Well, except for some of them, but yeah, like, I like a lot of those, and I'm not good at them. So that's my answer, probably.
Oh, one for me, High Society. I adore High Society, and I very rarely win it. It's funny because I always say that too. I'm always like, yeah, I never win this game, and then people are like, you say that, now you're gonna win, and then I don't. like I just, for whatever reason, I can't strike that balance between bidding the right amount of money and also getting points. Like, I'm one of those people who can end up with 0 points at the end of the game, or just like, it's not even for me, it's not even about spending the most money usually. I'm just bad at acquiring points at the right times, but I will play that game literally anytime. Adrian asked, what's your go-to food during the pandemic?
I've actually been like cooking more because my baby started eating solid foods and they're eating what we're eating now. So I'm trying to cook more healthy. so I've actually been cooking like chicken and spinach a lot. So I guess that's my go-to food now.
Is Toby still doing sourdough?
No, he hasn't made sourdough in a long time.
That's so funny because everybody else picked up bread making during the pandemic, but
I know. It's like we did it before and then stopped. But we still have our starter. But okay, you should make it sometime.
Yeah, you should.
I want some.
Yeah. I don't know if I've had a go-to food. I definitely have been cooking more, but I also have been ordering delivery. I don't often want to spend the effort to cook, and I like supporting local businesses. So I've been ordering either pickup or delivery from like local restaurants that I feel definitely could use the help. So I would say my favorite, the one I've ordered from the most during the pandemic, is Cornish pasty. Like, Cornish Pasty Co. here in Las Vegas. If you don't know what a pasty is, it's basically a fancy Hot Pocket is the easiest way to describe it. It's everything you ever wanted a Hot Pocket to be. But that and more. Just like pastry filled with whatever. Like, they have so many different kinds. And I've ordered, and they're not close to my house. I have to drive halfway across town to go pick up food from them. And I think I've driven out there, I want to say like 4 times during the pandemic, which admittedly the pandemic has been more than 4 months now, so that's not a ton, but it's not close to me, so I'm going to call that my go-to food because it's really good.
Back on Instagram, Troy Likes Stuff asks, is there anything that has happened out of necessity during quarantine times that you think will be a permanent change to your gaming?
I think I might buy less games. Although, actually, I could also see the opposite happening. Like, once everything is kind of normal again, I could see me going on, like, a spending spree because I'm so excited to be able to game again. I would like for online gaming to become a more regular thing in my life. Not necessarily the only thing, but I've really enjoyed being able to play board games with my friends that don't live near me. And I think it's a good way to connect with people. And obviously we can do that at conventions, but not everyone can go to conventions. So I want that to stick around. Even if it's not as regular, I would like that to be like, oh, we have like a once a month or once every other month day where a few of us get together and play a game.
Yeah, me too. Now that I have Tabletop Simulator, like I want to be able to play with it more, and playing with people who don't live near me is great.
I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
for you and I, like, we've kind of always struggled with, you know, how do we talk about games that when you and I can't play games together? And truthfully, we could set up like a monthly game day where you and I play games online together, and then we can actually talk about them on the podcast. Like, and we could have always been doing that, but I think it just, when you can play games in person and you enjoy doing so, playing games online seems not as optimal. And especially for me, my job requires me to sit at a computer all day. So when I get done with work, I don't want to be at my computer anymore. It's not even about the gaming online. I just don't want to be at my desk. I want to go somewhere else and do something else. And then our very last question, I think that we're going to do today, on Instagram, Volt5 said, what are some of your favorite or funniest bloopers? First off, I don't remember any of them generally after they happen. All of them is the answer to this question for me. When Ambie and I are recording, you all obviously get to hear some of the funniest mess ups at the end of the show, but like, both of us at times just won't be able to spit out a sentence or a word. And we just both start giggling. Like, it's just so funny.
Yeah.
And it's always very, like, it's never a problem. Like, it never bothers either one of us. We just, like, stumble through. And our patrons get to hear our unedited audio. So, if you want to hear every single blooper in not real time, but as it happened, you should support us on Patreon, because you get to hear the whole episode uncut before Ambie works her editing magic on it. And I honestly, when we started doing that, I wondered if anyone would listen, and quite a few of our patrons actually listen to the unedited episodes. So shout out to them, because
well, like, most of the bloopers, like, all the funny bloopers go into the bloopers, so you hear all the funny ones. Oh, I think there was one where one of us was like hiccuping the whole episode.
Oh, that was me.
That was you. Okay,
yeah,
that was.
So we waited to start recording because I had the hiccups, and so we were like, okay, we'll wait a few minutes, and then like we thought that they had stopped, and then as soon as we started recording, I started hiccuping again. Oh man, I wonder what episode that was. I don't even know how we would find that now. If any of our listeners happen to have a killer memory and know what episode I was hiccuping in, you should let us know, because it was very funny. I literally had to like try and keep quiet so we could just record. That was good though. Thank you so much to everyone who submitted questions. This was great, and I hope that you all feel like you got to know us a little bit better, not just about our board game stuff, but other things in our lives as well. We hope you all are staying safe and healthy. Obviously, the state of the world right now is a little bit odd, but we heart you all and are so happy that you are here.
And that's it for this week's Board Game Blitz. Visit our website, boardgameblitz.com, for video and blog content, as well as to get links to all our social media pages. This episode was sponsored by Grey Fox Games. During July, get 20% off your order of all non-exclusive items at greyfoxgames.com with the promo code SUMMERBLITZ. If it's August when you're listening to this, the new code is AugustBlitz. Grab yourself a copy of the colorful and fun city-building game Zoned Out. Grey Fox Games. Quality games cleverly crafted. Support our show and get cool perks for as little as $1 a month by visiting patreon.com/boardgameblitz. As a patron, you'll get access to pre-edit recordings and our private Slack channel where you can chat with us and other Blitz creators every day. Our theme song was composed by Andrew Morrow. Technical support provided by Toby Mao. Board Game Blitz is part of the Dice Tower Network. Until next time, gaming's amazing, whether near or far. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
The way it works is it's a hexag. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. Okay. The way it works is it's a hexag. Bleh. The way it works is
Number 4. Fourth time's the charm.
The way it works is it's a hexag. Nope. It's gonna have to be 6th time, right?
No, that'll be 5.
It's a hexagon.
I think.
Yeah, but I'm gonna mess up again because it's a.
Well, we got our blooper. This is perfect.
Okay. The way it works is the box is a hexagonal shape. I'll just say it's a hexagon. Okay.
All right, number 6. Here it comes.
Varying what's that word? Varying goodness.
That's okay. You can get it right the next time if you want.
Yeah.
If you want?
No.
You can get it right the next time if you want to. Or just keep playing by the wrong rules, whatever.
So that's probably our first game that we're going to be teaching them. Okay, apparently they don't want to play it.
Okay, that's really cute. They were like, no. Wait, what do you mean there's a monster?
Orchard. I don't know.